After a brief hiatus, welcome back to Kind of Funny's Pixar in Review. That's right, we are ranking and reviewing every Pixar movie, including the new one coming next week, Luca, coming to Disney Plus for free. Well, wow. If you sign up for Disney Plus, no extra charge.
Why is it that Pixar does that? They get treated like shit. Have you noticed that? Soul was also free.
I'd say it's treated like shit as much as there's a business plan in place that's working really well. They're like, hey, let's keep doing that.
Seems disrespectful. I don't like it. I don't like the way Disney treats Pixar.
Yeah,
see what you're saying, Kevin. Like their second fiddle.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? I'm gonna give them $10 extra to Disney Plus just so they know that I'm supporting Luca.
Oh, that'll teach them. That'll teach them.
What's your Venmo?
As always, I'm Tim Gettys, joined by the Nitro Rifle, Andy Cortez.
We're back, baby. It's been a while since I've watched the movie.
Yeah, we got the big dog, Kevin Coelho.
Ow.
We got It's Christmas in June, Joey Noel.
I thought I was losing my mind because I forgot I had the stream up in the background and I could just hear like double and triple of everybody. And
you're still losing your mind, Joe.
Too much of all of
also
those.
true.
Mutually exclusive.
Yes. And that beautiful man in a white T-shirt that I don't think I've ever seen you in a white T-shirt, Nick Scarpino.
Here's why I'll tell you
So
why I haven't
fresh,
worn a
so
white T-shirt.
clean.
Kevin and I talked about this earlier because Kevin, as you know, is very pro white T-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
It's because Andy put the fear of God in me. Andy doesn't like wearing white T-shirts. We're not going to get into why.
Nipples.
It's the nipples. It's because of his nipples. And I went to my buddy's comedy show last night and he was selling these and I was like, oh, I'll support him. I'll throw him like $20. And I'm like, it's one of those things, guys, where you're like, I'm never going to wear the shirt. I'll just give him the money to support it. But I tried it on this morning. I'm like, I actually like the way that shirt feels. It's thick. It fits right. It's a little like, I had to do the kind of big boy stretch a little bit with it, but now I'm feeling it today. So I'm happy about it.
You got the rolled sleeves. I like it.
Yeah, I threw the rolled sleeves back in there.
I think it looks fantastic on you, Nick. The thing I'm worried about with my gray shirt is I feel like if there are any dogs or pets out there watching the show, they may not know that I'm wearing the shirt because I feel like obviously it's gray. My skin is not gray, but in value they might be the same. Like I'm gonna make it black and white. Like look at that. Look how similar in value.
I'm the same way right now. I thought about this during the Russian Clink thing we recorded before this.
So, but can I ask a question, Andy? Just a follow-up question to that. Your worry is that animals will think you're not wearing a shirt. What is the consequence of this?
They might think it's unprofessional, Nick.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to. I want people to know that we run a really tight ship around here. But right, like in terms of value, like pretend like if you blur your eyes, it looks like I'm shirtless. If you blur your eyes, and some people can't blur.
You
their
just have
eyes.
like
Anyway,
a
we'll talk
sweet
about
tattoo.
That.
Wait, for real?
Yeah, thank you, Joe.
Like an Overwatch tattoo. How much did they pay for that Overwatch tattoo?
A lot of money.
But also,
It
Andy,
just matches the background lights, but that's normal.
True.
Animals can see colors. They just like.
They just choose not to.
No,
Andy hit me with it. Hit me with it. It's early, but hit me with it.
Science with Kev.
Run.
There it is. I think they don't see red, but they can still see
red,
green and stuff. Yeah, you can find YouTube videos, see how a dog sees.
Last night we watched a bear fight a shark. We were going through those in Snowbike Mike's Discord. It was a whole thing.
Well, this thing is Kind of Funny's in review. Each and every week, we rank and review different movie franchises.
Aren't you glad we're back?
I'm so stoked. By the way, we're going to do Conjuring. Devil Made Me Do It after E3. There was some personal stuff going on, and we just couldn't make it happen. We want to do it right with James and Lise, do it big. Andy, hopefully we'll be able to actually make it when we reschedule.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, after E3 for sure. Yeah, I mean, the thing that sucks is like I was just looking so forward to that franchise. To finally capping it off, right? Put an end piece to all of those movies that have come out. I just love all of them and see where that story goes. But it's a shame.
Yeah, but for now, we're continuing with Pixar in review, and we're returning this week also with Ninja Turtles 3. It's been a long time coming, but can't wait to talk about that. But today we are talking about Monsters University. Before we get into that, of course, you can get this youtube.com/kindoffunny, roosterteeth.com. If you want to get it as a podcast, search your favorite podcast service for Kind of Funny in Review. We'll be right there for you. If you want to get the show ad-free and watch live as we record it, you can go to patreon.com/kindoffunny, just like our Patreon producers Michael G and Tom Bach did. Today we're brought to you by MeUndies and Stamps.com, but I'll tell you about that later. For now, let's talk about Monsters University. It has a runtime of 1 hour, 44 minutes. It was released on June 21st, 2013. It's the first ever Pixar prequel that we got. Got a couple sequels by this point, but never a prequel. Directed by Dan Scanlon, who is an American animator, storyboard artist, and director. This is his directorial debut, but he would go on to do Onward a couple years later. Music was done by, take a guess,
Michael Giacchino.
Randy Newman. Randy Newman did this.
Randall P. Newman. You son of a bitch.
Making it his 7th collaboration with Pixar and the first Pixar movie composed by Randy Newman to not receive any Oscar nominations.
Whoa, come on.
Wow.
Yeah. I liked it. I liked all the drumline stuff, but it was a little derivative of the original scores, but like the original score is a classic and they had a new vibe. I like it. They got snubbed. Budget of $200 million, a box office of $743.6 million, making it the 7th highest grossing film of 2013. Monsters University failed to earn any Academy Award nominations, and it is only the 2nd time Pixar hasn't earned the nomination for Best Animated Picture, the other one being, guess.
Brave.
No.
Have we already seen it?
Oh, damn it.
Cars.
Finding
Cars
Dory.
2. Cars 2.
Cars 2.
Yeah,
Cars
that makes
2.
sense.
Yep.
Because it was utter trash.
Tight.
And we added a new segment, the Bechdel test of does this actually pass the test, where the Bechdel test is a measure of the representation of women in fiction. It asks whether a work features at least 2 women who talk to each other about something other than a man. The requirement is that the 2 women must be named. This movie does not pass. This movie fails that test. There are only 2 named characters in the film, and they do not 2 named female characters, and they do not speak to each other. Let's get right into
Monsters and genders, who knows?
Who knows?
That's a great.
One of them's name was Squishy.
Like, I mean, think about the fact that there is a monster that's 30 stories tall. Yeah. Who are you scaring?
Mm-hmm.
Think about that.
What door do you fit through? You know what I mean?
Exactly, Kevin. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they're just there to learn sports. I don't know. Maybe they're there to learn.
Oh, what's great about this movie
finance.
is there's more than just, there's more different things. Exactly, Andy. There's finance, there's accounting, there's tank design, as we learned, which I think I would have excelled at personally.
You would have, Nick. You would have.
Nick, what'd you think of Monsters University?
I liked it. This is my first time seeing this film. And I just enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun prequel. I normally, with comedies and stuff, I think it's easier to do prequels than what you're doing with more dramatic or like action oriented work, because there's really no like need for tension or anything like that. But I thought it was going to go one way and it ended up going that way. And that's okay, because 21 Jump Street also went that way. And that's a great film. So I enjoyed this. I thought the only thing that was a little weird to me, and I was just like, screw it, doesn't matter, it's a small nitpick, is John Goodman's voice. He sounds like a 65-year-old man who's been smoking cigarettes for a real long time. So him being back in college was a little bit weird to me, but it's super creative and fun, and I dug it.
Joey.
This was my 2nd time that I had seen it, and I actually liked it way more than I thought I was going to, based on my memory. I think it also has to do with the fact that, for the most part, I'm looking at the list right now of like the release list. I guess we didn't watch Toy Story 3 in this iteration, and Cars 2 kind of sucked. But this is like kind of the first foray back into creature, like non-human characters again, which I feel like I had a bigger appreciation for in this viewing order, because it did feel nice to get back to be like, oh yeah, what is it like if monsters went to college, and like that kind of novelty that we haven't had with the human stories in kind of a little bit. So yeah, I liked it way more than I remembered liking it in the first place, and I'm glad that we rewatched it.
Evan?
This was my first time watching the movie, and I was pleasantly surprised that I thought it was pretty entertaining. I was a bit like shocked that it's just a lot of it is a ripoff of Revenge of the Nerds. And it's funny that no one's ever brought that up to me, but all right.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a ripoff of Revenge. It's yeah, for sure.
Very, very closely related to the story there.
Some old school in there too.
A bit of old school, sure. But yeah, I mean, it's I get why it didn't get awards, but I thought it was fun for what it was. Also, there's a weird message in there that I don't know if I agree with.
Which is
That like you can't always
Accept your
achieve your
limitations.
dreams. Yeah, and that's fucked up. Like there's Sully or not Sully. Mike is a big
Mike?
giant eyeball with teeth. Like there's no way that like can't, like he could scare kids. It's definitely possible.
I'm with Kev on this. Where it's actually, I think it's interesting they explored that. I think the conclusion they came to was a little bit negative, but they intended it to be positive. Where I think that what I would have liked to have seen them work in was a new major path for scare producers, because I feel like that would have been how I thought it was going to work was I thought that Helen Mirren's character was going to go, or Hardscrabble was going to go, you know what? You're not a scarer, but what you are is a person who can coordinate all of these people. You're something more than that. You're something different than that. You should consider doing that as a major track and then having him build that major track out.
I think it would have been really cool had he like figured that out on his own, like somewhere.
Which he kind of does. He kind of does, but Sully helps him figure it out. And Sully's like, "Hey, you're the person that should be coordinating all these things."
But I mean, that's
but
the
there's
thing.
like,
he doesn't. Sully figures it out and tells him after they do the giant scare. And
that's character growth, though.
Yeah,
I mean, Scully, when you're best friends, Kevin, you and I are best buds, and we were like, I'm like, Kev, I got to tell you something, and you're like, I got to tell you something too. We just high five. We're like, we're both the coolest people. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, so we are. Yeah,
I'm happy that's where that went. Andy, what do you think?
It was my first time watching it as well. I thought it was fun as shit. I had a blast with it. I wasn't expecting a whole lot. I'm surprised that somehow over all of these years, none of the story had really been like spoiled. And I just didn't know, much like Kevin, who said, I'm surprised I didn't know this was going to be Revenge of the Nerds. Like when I think back on it, I had no idea what this movie was going to be. They're in college, sure, but I don't know where it's going or whatever. So I was super happy with it. I think it's like a highly rewatchable movie. It's funny. I think the dialogue isn't as, clever as the first Monsters Inc., which is why I had Monsters Inc. so high on the list, because not only with all the heart that it has, it's just fun as hell. I agree, Nick. I wish that John Goodman and Billy Crystal maybe got a bit of a pitch up a couple of
just the scope notes. Just make them a little younger. You do that, like you do the pitch shift, but make the speed stay the same, so it's just the same speed.
Yeah, that's kind of all I would have wanted, right? Because you still want those actors to be them, because they're both fantastic. But I love the old dude with the mustache who's like back in college, and
his voice is?
No,
Joel Murray.
Oh, one of Bill Murray's,
but it's Bill Murray's little brother.
That's cool.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Bill Murray has like 4 brothers, and I think that's the one from. He was in a couple movies back in the 80s, one of which was called about driver school, which I used to love when I was a kid.
That's like when Chris Farley's brother.
Moving Violation, I think it was what it was called.
Chris Farley's brother used to get a lot of roles as well. Yeah, I thought the whole cast and crew was fun. I may have missed a scene that sort of showed and maybe gave off that, hey, Billy Crystal, Mike, make sure you're going last. I may have missed a scene to hint that, Sully fucked with the machine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they showed that at all. I did miss that.
Yeah,
Kevin.
they did.
Okay. So I missed that scene. So that came off as like a cool kind of surprise for me, because when you do have that moment of the laugh going all the way, shit, maybe they should have left it out. Because like when that laugh went all the way, I was like, that's disappointing. And then you find out what really happened, and I thought it was really cool. So I think my viewing experience was better for not having for missing that sequence where Sully messed with the machine. I thought it was fun as hell.
I didn't show that, just so you know, Andy. Like literally, it was just the scene where they were standing in line about to go. Mike was in front, and he was like, "I'm gonna go first," and Sully's like, "Nah, man, you started all this. You need to finish it." And then he just goes in the back. That was it. We didn't see him actually tamper.
He realized. But I think there might be a shot where he like sneaks up
while
near
he's
the
scaring.
bed while he's scaring. But I could be wrong. I think they could have done a little bit better job. But I'm with you, Andy. Where I saw that, I was like, that was underwhelming. That scream. Like, I don't know why he would have won that. And then when it's revealed that someone tampered with it, I was like, oh. I also realized, I was like, something else is up, because it's at that point I paused it and I looked down. I was like, how's there 40 minutes left in this movie?
Dude,
And
The same
yeah.
thing.
we all
But,
had the exact same experience with this movie. Go for it, Andy.
I was just gonna say, and also that final sequence, Tim, I thought is really fucking cool and creative, and I just I didn't see this movie going that place at all. With Mike
Yep.
Wazowski completely failing, trying to scare this camp, and then the cops essentially coming into the camp, and all of that was just out of left field. It's so like un-Pixar, but I thought it was awesome, and I think this movie is like pretty goddamn good. I enjoyed the hell out of it.
Yeah, man. I really think it's a testament to this movie that it is as good as it is, that all of us are on the same page being like, wow, that was a Pixar movie. And yes, it is a sequel, prequel, whatever. It is an iterative thing of like, we're getting callbacks like Nick was talking about. It is kind of simpler to do the comedy thing. But I like that this kind of Pixarized college. Like it really was like, instead of looking at it as like, okay, Monsters Inc., what do we do with these characters? It really was like, well, Monsters Inc. is a job. What is something we can do with that in that world? And it's like, oh, the school to get in there. And I thought that for a lot of the Revenge of the Nerds and Old School and all that stuff, they did a good job kind of monsterifying the things like we've seen Pixar do so many other times. And I totally agree that it is a little straightforward, but it's fun the entire time. It moves super quickly. I'm a sucker for school challenge type things, right?
And
Like
Nathan Fillion's great.
Nathan Fillion's
It is
fantastic.
great.
But the riff off stuff in Pitch Perfect,
Love
the
it.
Goblet of Fire, the tournament in
Yeah.
Harry Potter,
The
like
tournament arcs.
I love tournament arcs, and like this movie does it really well, where they move from one event to the next so quickly. I feel like they cut in the right way, where they're like, we're halfway through this one. It's like, cool, we don't need the whole damn thing. Like, keep the energy up. And I didn't check the runtime and like how much I had left, so I was like, wow, this movie really was straightforward. And they're kind of ending it in a ho-hum place. And
Yeah.
then when there is that reveal and then the movie keeps going. I agree with you, Andy. The police scene and the whole camp thing was 10 out of 10. I really enjoyed that. And I think that it kind of brought this movie from, oh, that's really good, to, oh, this is actually really great. And I don't think it necessarily stands up with the best of the best, but I definitely think for what it is, it really knocked it out of the park for giving us more of this world and characters that we love. Having the right amount of callbacks to jokes that we liked and adding to them, and a whole new set of characters that were fun, and the whole OK team. It was like when they first showed up, I was like, I don't know that I'm gonna like these guys that much. By the end, I'm like, you know what? All of y'all are in my heart.
The main kid whose mom is sort of
Squishy.
interrupting him with the
God, that was so
laundry.
funny.
Like that sequence is great. But that main kid in body shape reminds me so much of Carl from Up. Like
Mhm.
they,
Wait,
they have like the same
not
proportion.
Carl.
The kid.
Yeah, the kid. I forget the kid's
Russell.
name.
Yeah,
Russell.
Russell.
So funny. I thought he was like my favorite of the group. That sequence in the library, really freaky. I wasn't expecting that lady to horrify me in the way that she did, the librarian. Yeah, I was just kind of surprised by this movie. I guess just you kind of want to write it off immediately, and that's why I didn't watch it ever, because it's a Pixar sequel. We've seen what those movies can be. I'm in no rush, but goddamn, it was a lot of fun.
The one fact I want to get into before we get into the plot here that I thought was kind of interesting, just from a design perspective, was there's a line in Monsters Inc. 2001 where Mike says that Sully has been jealous of his look since the 4th grade. Since this movie was going to show Mike and Sully meeting in college, it obviously contradicts that. The director admitted there was some conflict behind that, and they had discussed making them meet in the 4th grade to keep it canon and keep everything in line. But then Pete Docter, who directed the original Monsters Inc., and John Lasseter personally told him that they loved that he was honoring the one line said in the movie, but that he had to do what was best for the story and not worry about things like that. As a result, the line was put aside and Sully and Mike would be shown meeting in university. And as a joke, the director said that Mike's line in the first movie is an old monster expression. I just think that shit's kind of fun, but I like that they're just like, hey, we're not getting stuck to this shit. Like, let's just tell a good story. And I thought they really did. And speaking of that story, let's get to the plot.
Ooh.
Just tell us the story.
Oh, God.
I'm back for the story. My name is Randy Newman. He's back, baby. I can't believe he's back.
I think you went a little too hard on that one, Andy.
I would have never known.
Never been gone. Never been gone. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the plot for Monsters University. I usually pull a quote here, but I forgot. We see a lovely little bird land on the street in an idyllic little suburb, a place you might want to live one day. until it turns and we notice that the damn thing has 2 heads and the tongue of a lizard. Guess what? We're in the monsters world. What other horrors await us, Joey, at Monsters University? You'll have to wait and see.
Student loans.
We had a lot of student loans. This is a private school and it is 40 G's a year. A school bus pulls up for a class trip and everyone gets out, and there are all these little grade school kids. Mike Wazowski is one of them. He's a little kid, and everyone starts getting paired up, but nobody wants to be Mike's friend. So he gets paired up with the teacher.
Not express how much I love little Mike Wazowski with his little
Amazing.
braces, his little voice.
When he finds the nickel and just like that's
But it's
such
like
a that's
not
such
that
a
much smaller than him.
perfectly written line, because that's what kids do. They just say random shit that makes no sense and has no bearing on what's happening in the situation. But I just love that he's like, I found a nickel. It's so cute.
I wish I had pockets.
Yeah.
Just like stream of consciousness.
Yeah.
I forgot to write it down here, but I love when he gets paired up with the teacher again and he starts calling her by her first name, like they're friends. And she's like, don't call me Kathy or whatever it is. Really, really funny. He's like, all right, Kathy, let's go. It was something else. But anyway, so
that really sets the tone to me of the comedy in this movie. And I think that they did a good job of it. This is a different vibe of comedy than Monsters Inc. And I enjoyed that quite a bit.
Yeah. The tour leader takes them in. They head into Monsters Inc. They head up to the scare floor. The tour leader asks for their best roar, and Mike tries to show his off, but he's upstaged by the pros as they walk in. The scarers who do that cool, slow Armageddon, and we're about to save the world walk as they come in. And then the head scare played by
John Krasinski.
John Krasinski. And by the way, I saw Quiet Place 2 last weekend. We can talk about that, but it was really fucking good.
Scary monsters, you know.
Oh god, yeah. Anyway, he comes in and he tells Mike, Mike, you should go to Monsters University. And he gives him a little hat, and Mike's like, I am sold. Similar to that time that someone told Greg Miller he should go to a real journalism school, and he wasted that degree starting this company.
Mm-hmm.
One of the other Monsters kids talks mad shit to Mike, so he sneaks over the line and follows one of the scares into a kid's room to watch the pros at work. And then, of course, everyone goes crazy. And they're like, oh my God, I can't believe he did that. When he comes back, everyone freaks out, including John Krasinski, who tells Mike that he did something dangerous. He said, I didn't even know you were there. But then he thinks for a second, and then he says it again, but real cool this time. Joey says, I didn't even know you were in there. Good job,
Not bad, kid. Yeah,
Dude,
hell yeah.
Not bad, kid. And it gives him the Monsters University hat. Which is cool.
I will say, John Krasinski, not great at making his voice sound like anything else than John Krasinski.
No, John
like that's
Krasinski
one voice that took me out. I was like, oh, that's definitely Jim.
It's definitely one of those things where like you definitely don't want to like put him in a role where he has to do a lot of dramatic acting and then cut to like, I don't know, a Cillian Murphy for the rest of the film. Because then you're like, oh, there's a different calibers of acting right here. But I digress. He's only in this one for the first time. And I love John Krasinski. No disrespect, John.
No, you don't.
No disrespect, John. No disrespect, John. It's just, you got popular for being on that mediocre show for that many years. You didn't really have to stretch your legs.
Can we mute
You didn't have to stretch your legs at all.
Mute Nick.
Anyway, John Krasinski gives him that hat, and they do that cool match on action shot where it goes down and it comes up, and boom, we're Harrison Ford now. We're about to blow up a ship. That's an Indiana Jones 3 reference. Tim, you get it now.
Last Crusade, baby.
Exactly. When the teacher asks him what he has to say for himself, all Mike can think of is, how do I become a scarer? And then we get a cool little animation where Mike makes we get all the montage of pictures and stuff. Mike's making really good grades and gets into Monsters University, which I have to imagine. At first, I was like, this has got to be a trade school, right? Because if all they're doing is teaching scarers how to scare, then I'm like, trade school. But it turns out, no, this is a fully 4-year accredited university where you can get multiple degrees, including tank design. Cut to Mike is off for his first day of college. We get a little. I put Gladys cameo in here, but I guess that's not her name, right? Is that her name?
Gladys?
Doesn't matter. Yeah, forget it. I think I for some reason I thought the young girl with the glasses was like going to be the older, but that's Roz. Never mind, forget it. He leaves the bus and heads
But
into
the girlfriend is in here somewhere. The one with all the snakes.
Oh, really?
I don't
she
She's
was.
listed in the voice credits.
Really?
Interesting.
Jennifer Tilly?
None of the trivia
unless-
said that I saw. And
Are you sure it wasn't her
Unless-
sister Meg Tilly? Because
I
remember,
think-
we went over this multiple times. It's two
I don't
Tillys.
remember this. I'm gonna look
There's
into this and
two-
I'll report back.
Wait,
All right,
but who
ladies
was,
and gentlemen.
And
was
again,
Gladys
I would
the-
like to issue an apology. to Jennifer Tilly for thinking it was Meg Tilly the entire time. I was totally wrong.
Was I was gonna say was Gladys the older woman that like handled that ended up being number one?
No, that was
CDC
Roz.
No, that's
person?
Roz.
That's
Okay.
what I thought too, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
I'm confusing the situation, and it doesn't matter. Mike heads to his first day of Monster University, which looks like a place I would very much like to go. Joey, it's colorful, and there are a lot of fluffy creatures around. Mike
those.
gets his picture taken for the school ID, and it's bad again. I love this call out where he's like, "Oh my god, I'm a student at Monsters University." It's just the top of his head, barely can't even see what's going on. Fun little callback there. He looks over all the clubs. They do that cool thing. Now, here's the thing. I went to college for 4 years. I don't ever remember this being a thing, but I guess it was a thing where there was like the first week, all the clubs came out to initiate new people and try to find new members of that.
That was definitely
I guess
a thing.
maybe I was just smoking cigarettes and eating nachos.
Orientation.
And
Yeah.
quad. Was that orientation? Okay.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, not
definitely a thing at SF
So like
State.
Quad always had like a bunch of tables and people being like, "Hey man,
Okay.
join this."
The
Group.
club fair.
I just always thought
Yeah.
for some reason, I mean,
Comment.
it must have been right. Maybe I'm just blocking all my college crap, but I just thought for some reason that was yet another one of those.
Probably
Like
not near the
Hollywood
Taco
things.
Bell.
They definitely didn't have that
Yeah.
at South Texas Community College because I would have to park like 3 miles away and walk in 102-degree weather to
Jesus.
class. And by the time I'd get there, I was just fucking soaking wet. Like I was just
Oh,
dripping
God.
from everywhere.
Moist.
Awful.
I've been there so
Eating
many
inside
times.
the
Andy.
AC. Please get me in the cafeteria.
Just something that's not 120-degree humidity. He looks through all the clubs, and one of them is a lame ass improv group. Then he lands on the Scare Games, which sounds cool and dangerous. Then he gets his room assignment, and we think he's going to be roomed with his best friend of all time, Sully. But guess what? Surprise, surprise! A 30-year-old curveball. It's Randall. That little shit.
That was pretty
Apparently, he's
cool.
pretty cool.
It's
so
so
far,
funny.
he seems cool.
I feel like with Randall, we get so many moments where it's like you didn't have to add that as a backstory to him, where like he takes off his glasses and he gets his
Yeah.
little like look, and it's like, all right, yeah, cool,
Like it,
Squinty
though.
look.
yeah.
But what I like about this interaction, and I wrote down here too, is that they're talking and he's like, well, nobody's going to take me because all I can do is turn invisible. And he turns invisible. And then Mike, of course, gives him the first piece of advice that the producer would give him. Hey, you should ditch the glasses. It ruins the effect. And that's a cool little, just a little thing he threw in there, a little foreshadowing
Piece
for
of
what he's going to
advice.
do later.
Drop the. Just Facebook. Good move. Social Network. Good movie,
Social
dude.
fucking network.
Great movie.
Good
The Lost
movie.
Twins.
Tilt shift photography.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I learned that.
Wow. The next day he heads to class and immediately starts getting bullied and shit from the bigger monsters who prove once again that the Tully agenda,
It's
Kevin, is
fucking
alive
Tully
and well. It's
bullshit.
alive and well in
It's
Hollywood
Tully
right now.
bullshit, and like the whole movie really conforms to this Tully bullshit that I don't want to hear
It's
about.
true. It's true. And they might, one could make an argument they win at the end.
Yeah,
And then
yeah, it's very
Dean
clear.
Hardscrabble comes in, played by Tim.
Ooh, Helen Mirren, baby. Let's
Helen
go.
Mirren, who
tall
I
hair,
just
Helen
want to
Mirren.
take the lead of the Fast and Furious saga because we all, she deserves it.
Evan, I'm
and
going to
she-
send
Have you
you
seen
something that I
poster?
need you to bring up, okay?
That
Okay.
gigantic poster of her in LA.
Yeah,
Fucking
but it's
amazing.
more than that, though.
It's amazing.
I'm glad that she has such a distinct look to her because one of my issues with Monsters Inc. is that every character is just like a furry blob.
Fluffy thingy, yeah.
And they're always just kind of like this amorphous sort of here's a big ovalish orb with arms and eyes. And I've always appreciated the ones that look more different. Like she's obviously like some sort of dragon thing. We've had characters with like,
It's like
a shit ton of
centipede.
eyes, but for the most part, it's always just like a fluffy, colorful koosh ball looking thing.
Mhm.
Either that or like I never liked it when they treated the monsters as Muppets, where it's
Mm.
here's a red fluffy thing, here's a green fluffy thing. Like no, she's like
Randall's
one of the
kind of
few that
scaly,
actually
though,
has a
right?
really distinct look.
What you say, Joey? Oh,
I was
That
gonna say
was a lot
Randall's
louder
kind
than
of
I expected,
scaly
sorry.
too.
Yeah,
That's
I mean he's a
amazing.
reptile, right?
yeah, check this out.
Let's see it.
You coming?
Time to go fast, darling.
They made a movie of
God
Movie of the
bless
decade.
her.
God bless
God
Helen Mirren,
bless
man.
Helen Mirren. God
Yeah,
bless us
I
God
all.
love
bless
her
the
in
people.
Monsters as well. I really enjoyed her performance.
She did a good job. She did a nice. See, the thing about her, she did a great job about being like scary and the antagonist, but not being evil.
Mhm.
Does that make sense? And I think a lot of that was the writing, but obviously she was just trying to get the best out of people. But by the end, you're like, when she turns around, you're like, oh, okay, it's not Newswater where you think this guy's still up to something. She's like, okay, I'll learn something.
I disagree. I feel like when they broke her canister, that was just her being like vengeful. Like that wasn't her.
There was a dick moment there. There was a dick moment there a little bit.
She made it so that like she totally ruined their career. It wasn't until she was provoked further. Like that was a really dick moment.
Kevin, but see, the thing is when you're looking for talent and you look out and you see two people that just don't have it, you got to be like, I got to shoot you straight here. You're wasting 4 years. It's like that time Andy was like, I'm going to go to our university and they're only going to take the cream of the crop. And then he looked around and they let anyone in there could pick up a pencil. You know?
Yeah.
There's something about
absolutely everybody.
There's something about her character that reminds me of the professor from Legally Blonde, which I don't know if any of you people care about.
I do know that guy.
Colin Taylor.
He has a very bad turn at the end of that, though.
I meant the other. She's like a hybrid of Holland Taylor and then Victor Garber.
Oh, Holland Taylor. Okay, I thought you meant the other guy, the guy that like tries to skis out.
The actual bad one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad that she stayed the way she was. I was kind of expecting a turn early on. Here I am, this intimidating person. You're scared of me because of I'm such an imposing figure. And then when they break the canister or whatever, I was expecting her to be like, but you know what? I see something in you all. I was expecting like some sort of like now I'm the positive role model. I'm glad that she kind of stayed a total asshole the whole time. I think it worked perfect. She did such a great job.
Well, there you go. She puts the fear of God in them. She says all of this whole class is leading up to the final. If you fail the final, you're out of this program for sure. We're not even screwing around. This is a weird course. This is like ICS 21 at the University of California, Irvine. You can't get past this. You can't become a computer scientist. Nick, you're going to have to study film studies and go into business with Tim Gettys.
Did you not get past it?
I dropped that class second week. I was like, when can I drop this class and not have it affect my grade? And they were like, second week. I was like, done. Get me out of this fucking nightmare. Professor Knight asks the class about the properties that make up a great scare, and Mike tries to answer, but he's undercut when Sully walks in and just shows everyone how it's done. And this is where I said, he's the jock and Mike's the nerd. Will this be like 21 Jump Street where they have to combine forces and learn from each other? I hope so. And it was. But Kevin kind of nailed it more. It's more of a rip on unabashed rip off of Rent the Nurse.
Yeah.
Later that night, Randall wants the... What's up?
The actor that played Professor Knight. When Alfred Molina.
Yeah, it was Alfred Molina. Yeah.
There it is.
I had to look it up. I didn't recognize his voice.
I didn't recognize it, but that's rad.
He sounds a great cast. Everyone that does voices for everything is great.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good people. With the exception of, I think you guys were talking about Sully. I think that Randy sounded old as shit, and that's
Steve
Buscemi, right? You can't
Steve Buscemi has sounded old for our entire lives.
Though. Yeah, I know, but that's why it's like silly. I don't know, kind of weird to try to put him into like, hey, here he is, like his first year of college. It's like, all right, that is not an 18-year-old man.
Was it Steve Buscemi in Not Another Teen Movie or whatever it was, where he's like, hello, fellow students?
Yes, it was.
He's clearly a fucking 50-year-old dude in high school. Yeah, it's great.
I'm just realizing right now that last week when I watched Big Lebowski for the first time, John Goodman and Steve Buscemi
did it.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
Don't talk to that man, Donnie. He's a pederast. By the way, after you told me that, Tim, I was like, you know what? I'm going to cue that up on Netflix. And to Netflix's credit, whoever does the trailers for Netflix was like, do not put the trailer in for Big Lebowski. Just put the full scene where we meet the Jesus for the first time. It's the whole scene. It literally just ends with him pointing at his guy and his guy pointing back at him. He does the dance. God, I love that movie. I'm going to watch it later tonight. Anyway, later that night, Randall wants to go to a frat party, but Mike is too busy preparing for the finals. So he stays in for a quiet night, but it's interrupted by Archie, the pig, who is the rival school's mascot and also just really, really cute. Of course, Sully comes barging in after it to collect it because he is the one that has stolen the pig, and he wants to bring it to Frat Row. But then Archie steals Mike's MU hat. So Mike ends up chasing it and subsequently riding it all the way to the frat party. Mike comes up when Archie gets away. Mike comes up with an ingenious plan to catch it. The pig, which involves a football, a roll of bikes, and a trash can. But the powers that be over at the Roar Omega Roar fraternity, or I guess just Roar for short, only have eyes for Sully. They tell Mike
What a
to,
perfect
they're like,
name for that, though. Like,
Love it.
props to whoever came up with that, and that the abbreviation is the same as the name as Roar. It's so
Roar.
good.
I know, I love it. All of them are good, by the way, because I did it when you realize they tell them to go join the quote unquote nerd frat, which is the Uzma Kappa, and then they start their letters are okay. I'm like, oh, that's kind of clever too.
Honestly,
Of course-
I was kind of like, I don't really love that. But then when they do the chant, the we're okay, I was like, no, motherfuckers,
Yeah,
hey, man.
they got it.
They know what they're doing, man.
Yeah.
Of course.
Before we go on, let me tell you about our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Stamps.com. Are you still going to the post office, still paying full price for postage? Well, thanks to Stamps.com, you don't have to anymore. Mail and ship anytime, anywhere, right from your computer. Send letters, ship packages, and pay less, a lot less. With discounted rates from USPS, UPS, and more, Stamps.com saves businesses thousands of hours and tons of money every year, including kind of funny. We have been really, really reliant on Stamps.com to get things sent out over the years, and we could not thank them more. Stamps.com brings the services of the U.S. Postal Service and UPS right to your computer. It's a must-have for any business, whether you're a small office sending invoices, a side hustle Etsy shop shipping out orders, or just navigating this hybrid work life. Stamps.com can handle it all with ease. No wonder over 1 million businesses choose Stamps.com for their mailing and shipping. Again, just like kind of funny. With Stamps.com, you get discounts up to 40% off post office rates and up to 66% off UPS shipping rates. Stamps.com is a no-brainer, saving you time and money. It's no wonder nearly 1 million small businesses use it. Like I said, stop wasting time going to the post office and go to Stamps.com instead. There's no risk, and with the promo code Kinda Funny, you get a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus free postage and a digital scale. No long-term commitments or contracts. Just go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage and type in Kinda Funny. That's Stamps.com, promo code Kinda Funny. Stamps.com. Never go to the post office again. And next up, shout out to MeUndies. Summer is here, which might mean leaving the great indoors for a dip in the great outdoors, whether that's a pool, ocean, or fjord. MeUndies might be known for making the softest undies and bralettes in the world, but now they make swimwear too. That's awesome. I can't wait for this. You guys know I've been loving MeUndies for a very long time. Wearing a shirt right now, of course, the lounge pants, the undies themselves, and the socks. I love MeUndies. Can't wait to swim in some MeUndies this summer. You can check out MeUndies' first ever swimwear featuring bikinis, one pieces, and 2 different lengths of swim trunks. I'm going as short as I can. There are roughly 8 recycled plastic bottles in each pair of men's trunks, so that means they're eco-friendly, baby. Each one piece of bikini is made from recycled nylon derived from factory scraps and old fishing nets, which keeps our oceans looking beautiful. So there you go. Swim in an even cleaner ocean while you're looking fresh and clean. To get 50% off your first order and free shipping, go to MeUndies.com/morning. That's 15% off your first order by going to MeUndies.com/morning.
When Mike asks, of course, if they're joking, he's like, surely you can't be serious. And he's like, I am serious. Don't call me Shirley. Sully tells him that roar parties are for scare students who actually have a chance. And you're like, damn, that was a dick move. Of course, Mike takes that as a challenge and accepts it. We get a montage of them training to be scary, and it's fun. Turns out that Mike is good at the book stuff and Sully is good at the physical stuff. Throw in a brick of weed, and you literally have 21 Jump Street. Am I a soothsayer, Tim? Can I see the future? Let me try right now. Kevin will get a milkshake at some point tonight. Tell me if I'm right, Kevin.
Very wrong.
Wow.
Damn it.
I'm not allowed
Unfortunate.
milkshakes. You know
Not
that.
I
even
would
a
put all my
maybe.
money on that.
Yeah.
We'll
Not
see.
on
Now
Mondays.
I incepted it into his brain. He's going to get one from Pete.
I wish.
Mike, finals time. Johnny takes Sully's roar jacket away from Johnny Worthington or something, whatever. Nathan Fillion's character takes Sully's roar jacket away from him as a precaution because, like, I don't know if you're going to do so well. And we can't have people who failed out of the program being roars. So if you pass, you're in. If not, well, good luck to you. Of course, it's
Put
also
use to
set up here.
that. Give us that Sullivan name that we want and we expect. You know.
Thank you. I was going to say I forgot to mention that he comes from a long line of Sullivans who are famous
William
for
Sullivan.
being
Big scares.
lots of cool, big scarers. And of course, he has to live up to that. That'll be a lot of his character arc. Then we get into a scare off, and Sully accidentally knocks over Hard Scrabble Scream Tank. I love this where they're like, and they're like roaring at each other,
So
but they're trying to
funny.
stay silent. And it ends up with a tussle, and Sully accidentally knocks over the Scream Tank, which is her famous Scream Tank from when she broke the Scream record and won, or like it's the biggest Scream ever recorded or whatever from her very illustrious career. They destroy it in the process, unfortunately. So Hardscrabble takes it upon herself to flunk them both out of the program. Sully, of course, because he's not taking it seriously and doesn't ever read a book, and Mike because he's just not scary. And then we jump ahead to winter, and Mike has been relegated to a major in screen can design, which again, I'm like, change a couple colors. It could be fun. It could be easy
hate how
coasting.
much you love it.
Just saying, Andy, the design of the canister, perfect, but it could always be
door
better.
design. You picked the
But it starts
down
off
on.
perfect with the professor saying something along the lines of, a lot of people think that designing scream cans is a useless, like worthless kind of job or whatever.
Right.
And he just
And that's it.
pauses and just doesn't say anything. And he just continues with the lesson.
Yeah.
It's so good. I fucking love that. It reminds me of Hot Rod. Where like they're constantly interrupting each other. Like that type of humor is just so, it's perfect for me.
Or it's like that scene in Thor, Ragnarok, where Jeff Goldblum just stops mid-sentence and then just walks away. You're like, all right, he's not going to finish that. Go. Of course, Mike and Sully are still bitter rivals, and things are looking pretty down until Mike finds that poster from all the way back in the first week, initiation week, when it's telling him about the screen games, and he realizes it's a chance to prove for once and for all that he's the best. And he knows it because it says right there on the poster. Like leans down and says, "Prove that you're the best." So Mike signs up at the last minute in front of the whole school. And they're like, "Well, you got to be a part of a fraternity." And he goes, "Well, I am part of a fraternity. I'm part of Uzma Kappa, my new frat, and they're going to enter with me." One little problem, though. Before that, Mike makes a little wager with Dean Hardscrabble. If I win, you let me back into the Scare program. And Hardscrabble goes with him one better. She says, "If you win, I'll let your whole team into the program. But if you lose, you're out of the entire university." Now, here's where it seems a little vindictive, because a dean kicking you out of the entire university when you're already a major in screen can design, which, again, guys, burgeoning field, up and coming field of screen can design.
It's a bad rap.
It's just a bad rap. That's all I'm saying. Although can we talk for a second though, Tim?
Yeah.
You got the scarers, which are clearly like the cool kids, right? Then you got the screen kid. You got me, the cool, like, the other cool kids.
They're the Gryffindor,
can
right?
designs, right? Yeah, exactly. The scarers, the Gryffindors. We got the Ravenclaws over here holding it down with designing cool stuff.
Yeah.
No, that's
Yeah.
absolutely
Ravenclaw.
not what they're
What-
doing.
What is with
Ravenclaws
these?
are absolutely building doors.
What are with these fucking
100%
weird
Joey
kids
nailed it.
building the doors? Did you see these kids are high strung, man? They're like lay off.
That's
the
a
caffeine a couple
Ravenclaw
times.
ass thing to do.
Yeah,
and
they're
you know
creating
it.
portals to another dimension, possibly,
That's true.
or
Okay.
possibly
colorful.
time
so
The most
portals.
Hufflepuff would
colorful
be-
assortment of doors I've ever seen.
All right, that's a Ravenclaw thing. You're right. Maybe so
I just-
Hufflepuff then would be the screen can designs, and then I guess
Yeah.
Slytherin would be
Whatever.
not in this conversation.
Whatever Randall does, yeah.
That's
I
true.
just had to watch back that scene, and it's a lot of people say that Scream Can Designs is a boring waste of a monster's potential. Open your books to chapter 3. It's so good.
That's good. That's good.
Wait, but I was gonna say
Of
again,
course-
this is the dean being a total dick because for whatever reason she's really into this tournament thing, so she knows the rules that they can't complete
That's the best, man.
unless they have 6 people. So
Yeah,
she's setting him up.
I was strategizing him.
Yeah, she's setting him up immediately to fail.
See, I'm with you on this, Kev, because I thought this was her like pushing him, and then at the end she was going to go, "Gotcha." I was just
knew you
testing
had
you
it
the
in you.
entire time.
Knew
Yeah,
you
you
had
had
it
it
in
in
you.
you.
Yeah.
But no,
Turns out
straight
she's
up like,
just monster
"You're gone."
racist.
Hey, she's just biased against people who are short. And
We
again,
haven't seen anybody
fucked
else
up.
that
It's
looks
all
like Mike
agenda.
Wazowski in this
What does that
movie.
mean?
But
true.
it's a tall thing. It's a height thing, Andy.
Oh,
So
Whole
true.
agenda.
Yeah.
They had, of course, only one problem. His team is one monster short. And I love the joke where he's like, "No, we got 6 people." She's like, "We got 5 people. One of them has 2 heads. That doesn't count."
We count bodies, not heads.
Yeah, we count bodies, not heads. And then, of course, Mike offers it to
2
Randall,
lines,
but that
though,
little snake has already thrown in with the roars. So Sully, seeing the opportunity, steps up to the plate, and off we go. They head back to the Uzma Kappa frat house, and they're all dorks. This is where I put for dinner last night. I ate an entire bowl of teriyaki beef jerky, and now my stomach hurts. We meet everyone in the frat, and they're nerds, but their letters spell okay, which is dope, and I'm back in. Later that night, the brothers of Uzma Kappa initiate Mike and Sully, which goes pretty well until Squishy's mom comes down to do some laundry. This scene made me laugh out loud. I was like, oh my God, it's one of their houses. This is the best.
Yeah,
this
so-
is the best thing ever.
This was an already existing fraternity, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So those 4 guys were Just part of that was their little fraternity for.
Well,
monsters.
you have to assume that the fraternity had been around for a while, but then they moved the house because they didn't have enough members to actually get a good house. Of course, frat houses are paid for by dues, the fraternity dues.
Right.
And the bigger the dues, the more you can go. You can get a big house. So you have to assume the roar dues were ridiculous.
Bigger
Whereas
the dues, the more the booze. That's
exactly,
what they say.
dues make booze. Frames win games. Needless to say, Mike and Sully are not impressed by this whole process, but they get initiated nonetheless. They go to bed, and then as they go to bed, they wake up the next day. And Joey, did you catch what this was a reference to?
I did not.
Mike wakes up and has a dream about a stable boy and a princess, which is in reference to The Princess Bride, which Billy Crystal was in. And I'm like, I love that.
This is the part where I tell you all that I've never seen The Princess Bride.
Oh,
shut it down.
Joey,
Tim, shut it down.
You haven't
Yes,
either?
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Tim,
oh, guys,
shut it
they're
down.
so good.
Tim hasn't either.
It's one of the
I
greatest
know,
movies
that's what I'm
ever
saying, guys. It's so good. It
You're all
really
insane.
is. Hands
I
down,
hope
one of the
it's
greatest.
I'm going to
movies.
watch it, and I hope it's as good as The Big Lebowski, because that has proven to me that the hype couldn't actually live up to it.
I've never fully seen it either.
Oh, come
I think
on,
you'll really like it, Tim. I don't know if it's gonna. I don't know that it's gonna impact you the same way The Big Lebowski does, but I think it's a very, very endearing film that continues to inspire and charm to this day.
Like, one thing I learned about being in game development is that if you haven't seen Princess Bride, it's like the number one sin. And I don't know why, but everybody's like, "Are you kidding me?
It's
You've
just-
never like." Everybody was like gonna fucking roast me, and I almost feel like I almost got fired. It was very weird.
What's funny
Maybe
is
you
there's a
should've.
few
Maybe you
things you could have done to change that situation. One, you could have lied and just said you saw it. And when
Love
they
it.
said,
So
"Was there giant rats in it?" You could have like,
follow-up
"Yes."
Yes.
Two, you could just, it's an hour and like 45 minutes. You can watch it at any point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Of course, they receive this is when they get their first letter, which is the clue for the first event of the scare games. And off we go to the sewers to kick the games off. And then we get introduced to all the other frats that are competing. And I love this because this is straight up Tri-Wizard tournament, especially since for some reason, I guess it goes throughout the entire school year, which I don't think they really set up. But there's one part where it starts raining. I'm like, are we in a different season? Like, what?
Yeah.
How long does this thing go for? And also, like, did he just waste his entire first year then? I don't know. Maybe it just rained one day. We get introduced to, I think it's the jocks, the hisses, the pinks, the roars, and then, of course, the okays. What I miss?
No, I was saying I like the names.
Yeah, they're
It's a
awesome.
hit, yeah.
Challenge number 1, run through an obstacle course of radioactive blowfish and don't let them touch you. Last team to finish is out. Mike and Sully, of course, are super rivals here, and they start getting competitive with each other instead of coordinating with their team, and things do not go well. Art's the whole time. Art, who I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to like this Art character or not. And then he goes, I got to touch all these things. And I'm like, I'm going to like this character just fine. Of course, he immediately goes from it and just blows up like a blowfish. Of course,
but later on, like, we'll get that scene of him going underneath the bed. I just love his movement.
No, that movement. That is amazing. He had the biggest laugh out loud moment for me of the entire thing when they're doing the hide and seek. They're prepping for the hide and seek tournament. And he goes, and go. Looks around. He goes, you're in a pile of leaves. You're in a tree. You're just standing in the middle of you're just standing in plain sight. Or it's just like standing on a hill.
Is he the one that has the random line that's like, I can't go back to jail?
Yeah.
And we just get no context about it later. I'm just like, I want to know more about you.
That's amazing. He said at one point, I think he said he had an extra thumb, which was one of his superpowers.
Not with him.
Not with him. Oh, wow. God, I got to watch this movie again. I was too busy taking notes. I missed all these bangers. Of course, they end up coming in dead last, which is bad. Roar wins. Mike and Sully crossed the finish line, but the rest of the team didn't cross too, so they get disqualified. Unfortunately, or thankfully, depending on how you see it, Jaws Theta Chi, or Jock, gets disqualified due to their use of illegal protective gel. Hilarious. With Uzma Kappa in last place, or second to last place, I guess, now last place. Mike takes the lead and tells the team they need to work together to win. But of course, Sully still thinks they're all wasting their time. they need a new team. And I love this line too. He's like, we are wasting our time. We need a new team. And Mike's like, we do not need a new team. We can do this with this team. Also, I checked. We can't get a new team. He's like, it's illegal. Of course, Sully, just them being rivals, refuses to take orders from Mike as we lead into the second event, which requires them to sneak around the librarian, who it turns out is a giant tentacle monster.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Did any of you guys used to watch the MTV show Silent Library?
No.
I mean, I didn't watch it, but it was always on. So I just kind of was.
I
absorbed
happened to go down like a Silent Library rabbit hole because it's all on Paramount Plus right now. And I was just really happy that this was also included in there. It's a game show where it's like you're doing all of these like challenges that are supposed to make you like scream or yell or loud. Nope. Laugh. That's the word I'm looking for. Thank you. But you're in a library and there's like people at desks in a librarian that's like shushing you. And if you go over a certain amount, you don't get the money.
There's like a decibel level involved.
You just took away my weekend. I did not know it was on Paramount Plus. Like, I loved that show too much.
Also on Paramount Plus, you can watch Anthony Carbone's episode of Legends of the Hidden Temple. So have yourself a good weekend.
Shoot.
Oh, that's super fun.
Yeah, we had a great weekend.
That's awesome.
The second event kicks off and Sully wants them to go faster, but Mike insists on slow and steady until Sully spots the remaining team, the second to last team, making more headway than them and bolts for the ladder, causing a massive ruckus, and the ladder comes off. The librarian beelines for them. And then, of course, thinking fast, the OKs run noise interference and start working as a team and get chased out of the library. Thankfully, Squishy remembered to grab the flag with a little misdirection, as he
cool
says.
Moment. Yeah,
great moment. It's
like we didn't grab the flag, we lost. Like, Mike, that's a great reveal. This is a good ass movie.
It was good. Of course, later that day, they get invited by the Pinks to the scare party, and Mike is like, "We're finally one of them," and he makes everyone go. When they get there, to discover that their antics during that second challenge in the Tri-Wizard tournament have made them legendary. Not only that, but it turns out Squishy can break it down on the dance floor, and he uses his body to get Sully in the mood to party. And
I laughed so hard at that.
He's
when
like,
when he brings in Sully, and Sully like, all right, fine. He starts getting tugged by the rope. It's so good. Like the animators there fucking nailed all of that, and having him go in there, I had the biggest smile on my face.
And then, of course, we cut over to Mike, who takes a moment to walk the hallowed halls of all the scare games past winners, and then he looks up at the cup and sees his reflection in it in the Champions Cup. Before they know it, the Roars call the Uzmas up to the main stage to congratulate them. But Tim, they're not congratulating at all. They're pulling a carry on them, and they dump some colored slime, then glitter, and then he says, "Give them the stuffed animals." And then Randall, that little shit, pulls the cord.
What a fucking snake bitch, dude.
Yep, there it is. And then they take a picture of them, which winds up in the paper the next day. But Mike's like, don't worry, nobody reads the school paper, but they do read the quad. And it turns out these Roars have a lot of money because they spent a lot of money on printing, and they just papered the entire quad with this picture of
a lot of mommy and daddy's money right there. These are all like fucking trust fund kids, you know?
Johnny, of course, tells them they'll never be scarers because they don't look the part. But if you really want to work in the scare room, well, Monsters Inc. is always hiring in the mail room. And then everyone laughs. And Sully freaks out. He says, you can train monsters. You can't train monsters like the OKs. All you want to be, excuse me. You can train monsters like the OKs all you want, but you can't change who they are. I missed the comma there. That's what the problem was. Dawn is inclined to agree. No matter how much we train, we'll never look like them. We're meant for other things. And of course, Don's got this card the entire time as a salesman. And then one of the Roars, as if it's sort of a throwaway line to lead us to the next part, comes over and says something about the big leagues, which Mike goes, I have a good idea. The big leagues. And I always love that mechanic in storytelling when one character's like, you know what? I like lima beans. And he's like, lima beans. They're the ones that are the killer. And you're like, what? How the fuck? Okay. That's coincidental. They break into Monsters Inc.
So confused by what just happened.
One of the little Roars, like the kind of nerdy Roar, comes over and he's like, "You guys are never going to make it to the big league." And then Mike goes, "The big league," and he gets inspired to take everyone on a class trip to Monsters Inc. to see how the big guys really do it, right? But that's always the thing in murder mysteries where it's like the third act and we're like, we're stumped. We're out of clues. And then Kevin goes, you know, my favorite movie is Jaws. Check out this t-shirt. And I go, t-shirt? The t-shirt was the killer the entire time.
Yeah. Okay. I see it. I see.
Cut out that first part where I fucked the joke up, and then put that part
Yeah,
in.
because you nailed it the second go
Second
around.
time was awesome. Lima beans, don't know where that came from. Haven't had a lima bean
God bless you.
20 years,
God bless
probably.
you, Nick.
Tim, you know how if I just pull from my environment? I don't. That's what happens when I don't do that. So cool. Anyway, they break over to Monsters Inc. To see what real scares look like, and man, all the hips are there. Mike tells him, take a good look. He's like, there's not one type of scare. The best scarers use their differences to their advantage. They spot Earl, the Terror, Thompson, and all the legends of the scare world. Mike and Sully, of course, bond over the fact that they're all huge fans of scarers, and they used to collect scare cards, which I think Sully said he had like 500 or 400. Mike's like, that's cool. I had 2,000, but no big deal. And then they've realized they've been real jerks to each other and to their team. He says, but it's not too late. We could be a good team, but we've got to start working together. And then they get chased off the roof by a security guard, and Sully ends up carrying everyone to safety into Squishy's mom's car. They tear away. And the next day, they're a team. They get in uniform and everything, including Sully and Mike, who have now adorned with the OK swag. And we get another training montage, which seems to last multiple seasons, but then it's off to the third competition, which is the OK's knock out of the park, taking second to the Pinks, taking second, and then they knock out the Pinks out of the competition. And then off to competition 4. Mike trains them to all disappear, hide and go seek. They all have to disappear without a trace, which Art the Spider takes to just stand out in the open. I love that part. He's like, you're in the you're in the bushes, you're in a tree, you're standing out in the open. And he's just like, so good. By this point, Mike and Sully are working as a well-oiled machine. We see them like throwing each other cool stuff in their room and stuff. And then hide and seek starts, and the hisses get kicked out from the competition, leaving only the roars and the OKs left for the finals. Tomorrow night is the final competition in front of the whole school. Johnny tries to get in their heads. He says, when you lose, no one will remember you. But Mike claps back and says, when you lose, no one will forget it. And then one of the roars is like, shit, he's right. We better not.
Like, good point.
That's a really good point. Sully catches up to Dean's hard scrabble to smooth things over, but she tells him what he really knows deep down. Despite everything, Mike just isn't scary. That night, Sully tries,
man, right?
Yeah.
You're just like, you're right. But like, oh, man.
Why gotta be so blunt about it, you know?
No, she's not right. Like, come on. It's a giant
It's not
eyeball.
scary, man. But you
It's
want
not
to look
about
at it.
looks,
Let
not attitude.
It's true.
You don't got
True.
the stuff, Kevin.
It's true.
You
Kevin, no matter how
tall
hard, he'll never be tall.
motherfucker over
I
here.
know, that piece of shit. That fucking piece of shit with his height.
Like, it's the
advantage.
way they frame it in the movie, Kevin. Like, if I woke up in the middle of the night and saw Mike Wazowski in the dark at the foot of my bed, I would fucking yell my guts out.
Absolutely.
Dude.
No
But
way that later
in this
on,
movie they frame him as Billy Crystal. Mike was fucking hey. Yeah. Is that what he talks? I don't know.
He
Whatever.
looks way scary.
Close.
Sully's the one
This
that
is-
looks like a giant teddy bear.
this
Yeah.
is the same shit they did with the Incredibles, where it's like, oh, you're not special because you're just a human that's normal. It's fucked up.
He was special. He had a cool mountain thing, though.
Okay.
Complex.
Hmm.
Anyway, that night, Sully tries to bring the scare out of Mike, but that dog simply won't hunt. And Sully knows it. This time tomorrow, the whole school is finally going to get to see what Mike Wazowski can do. And this is exactly what Sully is afraid of. Final competition time. It's time to see how scary each team can be in the scare simulator, which has been set to the highest level. I love the use of the scare simulator too. Like, it's not just something that Monsters University has or Monsters Inc. has. It's like a training tool, which is awesome. The whole school watches on the big screen as Dawn and Bruiser sneak into the kid's room, and Dawn crushes it. Next up is Terry, and he kind of shits the bed. Finally, next up is Squishy, who is now my favorite character in a Pixar film, because I want to point, Andy, if you want to laugh again, just watch the part that Squishy goes in, right? This is beautifully, beautifully shot. The kid wakes up and looks over, and the camera just pans over, and Squishy's just kind of side-eyeing him. He's like, it's terrifying.
I love that so much.
It's so funny. Then Art, who is amazing, does a great job, but he falls just short of greatness. Again, he has that cool spin thing where he goes underneath the
Yeah.
I feel like
Just rolls
the
under.
ratings were all over the place. Where like I feel like
Yeah, I
Team
agree.
OK fucking nailed it, and then just randomly they would do like half the bar, and it's like no way, no
They were
way.
definitely
These
the most
numbers are
Contest,
all.
Kevin.
True.
Sometimes someone pulls out a crazy dunk and Dwayne Wade gives them a 9 instead of a 10.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Like no concept of what you're talking about at all.
Think
Super
about it.
bad.
Just nod and say yes, Kevin. It makes you sound cool. Sully runs up against Randall, who I was like, this is a terrible pairing, but that's how it shook down. He reads the kid's dossier and realizes the kid is scared of thunder and lions, and thank God that is his nom de plume. Randall cannot compete with that. Not only that, but when Sully actually ends up roaring, knocking the thing out of the charts, it spooks Randall, who goes all hearts. He copies the texture behind him of the heart wall, and the little kid just laughs at him. Doesn't do well at all.
I didn't like that Sully's was what he's good at. I feel like that was kind of a weird thing that wasn't really in service of the plot.
Oh, the lion sort of thing.
Yeah, like I feel like at least give him something of like he's learned from Mike a little
Snakes,
bit.
right?
You
He
know?
needs to
Just
the kid's
well,
scared of snakes.
The only reason why I'm okay with it is because we kind of get that later on
Kind of a red herring,
when they're in the cops in the cabin, and he's like, I can't do this, and he's like, hey, don't fucking be a Sullivan, be you, like.
Right.
I think that if we get him overcoming something way too early, then that moment is lessened. I feel.
I would have preferred maybe he doesn't get a perfect rating then. Maybe he gets good, but like he did it not perfectly or something. I don't know. It was just kind of like it moved so quick that it didn't really matter. But I was like, for a main character, that felt like kind of a misstep for some growth.
I can see that. Of course, final bout is Johnny Worthington versus Mike Wazowski, and Sully tells his friend not to worry about anyone. Just go out there and show him what Mike Wazowski can do. Hardscrabble.
Are you all hearing my stomach grumbling? Is it being picked up on the mic? Because it is wild.
It is not. It is not. You're good, Andy.
It is so audible. Okay.
Hardscrabble watches from above as the horn blows and both competitors head in. Johnny absolutely dominates, as we thought he would, and then Mike channels all of the hurtful words anyone's ever said to him about how he sucks, and then channels that into one big scream, which is very underwhelming, but seems to just blow the charts off the roof. Don and Squishy's mom almost hook up, and everyone celebrates because the OKs have won, which seems weird at first. You're like, that's weird. Didn't seem like he could have crushed out like that.
Did you guys feel like it was underwhelming? Because I saw it and I was like, oh, he fucking killed it. Oh, really?
No.
Who, Mike?
Not at all.
Yeah.
No, I thought it was underwhelming, and I also thought it was they're showing us that he won, so that's why he won. But that was the vibe that I got there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought
and
it was
that's
a
why
cool
I was
cut.
way happier that the twist happens, that it was all fucking rigged.
Of course, after the festivities, Sully and Mike take a moment to reflect over in the scare room, and Mike makes a noise, and that kid just freaks the hell out, and then he snaps his finger, and the kid freaks out too, and he's like, what the heck's going on? And then he realizes the machine has been tampered with, and Sully is the one to blame. Sully just wanted to help, though. He says, what was I supposed to do? Let the whole team fail because you don't have it. And of course, the OKs overhear that whole thing, and Squishy goes, oh no, and drops the trophy, leaving it behind. Mike heads to the dorm room, which apparently houses the door room, which apparently is Ravenclaw's over there working on a super scary door that no one can possibly crack. And he's like, this is how I'm going to show everyone. Of course, Johnny offers Sully his jacket back, but he rejects it instead, choosing to clear the air with Dean Hardscrabble and come clean, which she promptly kicks him off campus. She tells him, you're a disgrace to the university and your family name. And then an alarm sounds. Everyone heads over to the door lab where Mike has locked himself in with the super scary door. He enters the room and does his thing. At first, he creeps up to the kid's bed, does his thing, but it doesn't work. And not only doesn't work, it severely backfires on when the camera pulls out, and we realize we're not in a kid's room. We are in a camp with multiple kids in one room, and they all just point and laugh at him.
It is embarrassing.
Yeah, this shot like hurt in a weird way where like you feel that embarrassment and you're just like, this
Kevin, I was hoping it was a nightmare
can't.
sequence.
Me too. When they cut, I was like, oh, he like blacked out or something.
I thought he was gonna wake up.
There's no way.
It was awful, but it was great. Like it was perfectly made. It was perfectly crafted the way that they just made this scene with making you feel that anxiety and that embarrassment, and the way that the
Pixar.
kind of music wrapped up and everything. It was fucking awesome, and I just you felt for him. You felt that embarrassment.
Sully, of course, rallies.
I was gonna say it just wasn't realistic. People would be scared.
I think she would have been scared, because he has a giant eyeball. But at the same time, you don't understand how horrifying multiple kids together can be, Kevin.
That's true.
I have a lot of friends who have multiple kids, and I think they'd all agree with me that they're the real monsters.
They would all agree with you, Nick, that they are the monster.
Sully rallies the team to help him sneak past the guards. I thought this could have been a better moment here. Actually, I thought they were going to have to use everything they learned to help get Sully through the door, but it ends up being kind of a quick beat. But of course, as he's going through Hard Scrabble's protest, he's just like, "Don't go through that door. You're out of this." And he's like, "Whatever." When he gets through, of course, he finds Mike. He finds the place empty and then gets chased over to the lake where he finds Mike sulking. Mike finally realizes that Sully was right. He says, "I thought if I wanted it enough, I could show everyone what Mike Wazowski was something special, but I'm just not." And then Sully says, "You'll never know what it," he tells Sully, "You'll never know what it's like to fail. You're a Sullivan." But then, Sully comes clean. He says, "I'm a Sullivan who failed every test and flunked out of the program. I'm the Sullivan who was so afraid to let everyone down that I cheated and I lied. And I'll never know how you feel, but you're not the only failure here. I act scary most of the time because I'm terrified." The guards, of course, catch up to them and chase them off into the forest. Sully gets cornered. Mike helps him out. And then they head back to the room with all the beds, whatever they call it. What do they call those in camp? Bunks? Cabin? Back to the cabin.
The cabin, yeah.
There you go. But when they try the door, it has been deactivated from the other side. Mike, of course, comes up with a crazy idea.
It was fucking
as
cool.
The humans around them start to close, and he says, "Let them come. If we scare them, really scare them, then we can generate enough scare energy to power the door from this side." And then Sully's like, "Are you sure it's going to work?" And he goes, "I've read every book about scare tactics. I think this will work. Just follow my lead." And this scene
I'm getting goosebumps by just
awesome.
Nick explaining this right now.
That was such a dope scene.
So
This is one of the
Really
best
cool.
scenes in any Pixar movie. Like this whole sequence is just perfectly made.
So like, in you expect in a movie like this, like, okay, all the team's going to come together and they're going to use every single thing that they've learned. They're going to use every little technique that they can overcome whatever their disadvantages to succeed. I thought this was going to be in the tournament. It's kind of genius that it wasn't. It's kind of genius that it's in this real world situation and this scene's awesome. And it's actually scary. Like when they start screwing with them and like the little doll comes out and it's like, "Mama," or whatever it was. It was terrifying. This is why
I love the idea though of the monsters scaring adults, like to get the extra scared. Like it's just so expertly crafted. Where it's like earlier I was talking about like, cool, how do we stay in this Monsters Inc. universe but add extra elements, and taking it back to college, but then having them scare adults is just like layers that make this not just we're trying to make some money with characters,
Right.
but it's like,
It's not
no, we
garbage,
actually. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, the setup was perfect to have, don't scare the teens. They're not going to be scared by you. Like we have to scare the kids so that we see that whole lesson.
Yeah.
And then this is like extreme version difficulty number 10 of like, these aren't teens, these are adults.
Yeah.
There's no fucking chance you're going to do this. So overcoming this whole sequence is just really damn cool.
Of course, Sully doubts himself, but Mike hypes him up. He's like, "Listen, man, stop doubting yourself. Stop being a Sullivan and be you." And then Sully just digs deep and blows the doors off of the place, man. Just absolutely burns the place down with terrifying the humans. And every tank on the other side of the scare lab and the door just explodes with energy, allowing Mike and Sully to get back to their world. And then the authorities come in. I forgot what the authorities were called in this. I forgot to look it up, but that squad that basically
It's like
kept shaving that one poor guy.
It's like CDC, but one letter different.
Something
right?
like that, yeah. They're coming. We get a little Gladys. We get a little Roz cameo here. I keep putting Gladys, but it's Roz. The next day, Mike and Sully deliver the bad news to the OKs that they've been kicked out of school, but there's a silver lining. The rest of the OKs have been let into the scare program, including Dawn, who is now dating officially Squishy's mom. And I think they're getting married, and it's a little bit awkward for Squishy, but you know what? Good for you, Dawn. Good for you.
It was going to be bros, though, frat bros.
But they have that moment where he's like, "I want to be your frat brother / dad." And he's like, "This is weird."
No, it sounded worse.
This sounds worse. Sully and Mike head out of the school and they go back underneath the arches from which they came when Mike entered all those months ago to say their goodbyes. And Mike realizes it's time to leave greatness to other monsters. He's okay, just being okay. And he gets in the bus and they say bye, but the bus barely makes it a block before Sully stops it and says, "You think you're just okay? You pulled off the biggest scare this school's ever seen. You're not scary, not even a little bit, but you are fearless." And then Hardscrabble interrupts them. And this is where you think, hey, she's going to let him back into the program. She says, "The two of you did something no one's ever done before. You surprised me, but there's nothing I can do for you now." And they're like, "You're the dean. You could do whatever you want. You are in charge of everyone's power." But she says, "There's nothing I can do for you now except wish you luck. And Mr. Wazowski, keep surprising me And he's like, I will never surprise you again because I am not allowed back in this university and you don't leave this place. So
Yeah.
we'll never see each other again. And you're old. You'll probably die before you hear from me again because it's going to take me about 10 years to climb the corporate ladder over in Monsters, Inc. But I love this
This
little
might be
payoff.
my least favorite part of the movie.
I love
The
it.
speech and her
that
flying
speech.
away. I was just kind of like, all right.
See,
That felt like it didn't add to anything.
what I thought it should have done, what I thought she should have done is said, listen, the school
Recommended her
board,
for a job.
I wanted you back in, but the school board said no. But there's another option for you guys. And like gave them the nod to get into the mailroom at
that would have been
Monsters,
a
Inc.
lot stronger.
That
Instead,
would
it
have
was
been
just
stronger,
like,
being like,
good luck with your life. And it's just like, all right, you suck. You still got us kicked out. Also, why did Mike get kicked out? Like, he did nothing wrong. Sully did it all. Yet Mike
Mike got kicked out because he snuck through the door and blew up the lab.
Yeah, that's like
Great
the
call.
number
Great
one
call.
thing you
Yep.
can't
That's
do.
kind of a thing that
Yeah. I forgot about that.
if you let off a
You nailed
small
it, Nick.
incendiary device on campus, that's gonna
Sure.
you're not getting invited back to the pep rally. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's right. You're making a lot of sense there, Nick.
You know what? Mike tells them they're going to break the record. They start in the mailroom, and Mike's like, "We're going to break the record." And he's like, "Mike, we're in the mailroom." He's like, "Yeah, we're going to break the record for most mail ever delivered." And they high five as the abominable snowman comes back in, played by the man himself, John Ratzenberger. And then we get a fun montage and pics and clippings of them work.
What is his
What's that?
line? He says something about, like, don't do that or you might get, like, exiled.
I'm in the same place you are, Kev, where
'Cause he makes some
made a
hint
reference
at
and I
what
was
he
like,
did.
I don't get what he was saying, but yeah.
Well, because
There were
like,
references
he
to
got-
last
he
movie.
gets
He gets exiled out to the human world, right?
Yeah.
To become the abominable snowman.
That's right.
I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, but he said
yeah, I think
some
it was
line
like
that
a
gave
nod.
hints to him being some sort
Why
of
he
monster.
was why they pieced him out.
That's funny. Anyway, I love that cameo. And then we get the fun montage and pics of them working their way up the ladder from the mailroom to the janitorial staff to the cafeteria staff to finally their first day as a Screen team. And as they're walking into to the screen, the Screen lab, Sully says, "You coming, coach?" And Mike says, "You better believe it." And that's it.
Remember, kids, give
That's
up on your
it.
dreams if they seem too hard. Fucking kids.
Nah,
But
just
anybody
find
can
another way.
scare.
Anyone
Anybody
can
can
scare.
Anyone can cook.
It's funny because like you don't hear this message that often, but like obviously in a Disney film, it's like, oh, try hard and you can overcome anything and get your dreams. This is just different. It's a more adult approach. It's like, hey, you don't have what it takes to do this one thing, but that doesn't mean you can't be happy and still succeed in that field. You just have to tweak it a little bit and find your in. You have to find what you're good at in that specific field.
Again, I think it would have meant a lot more if Mike had come to this discovery on his own, where like had he gone in there and scared someone and then not liked it and felt bad about it or something, you know what I mean? Like I feel like there's a better way to get this message
Yeah.
out there. Not
Or if he
not
would have
just-
scared. Oh, sorry. If he would have scared somebody and then been like, no, I can do this and they're wrong about me and like I can forge my own path or whatever. And
Yeah.
I don't have to do it. through
Yeah,
this.
but that's a different message, right? The message is not necessarily. I mean, unfortunately, you're right. I mean, it wasn't delivered
Yeah, that's what I'm
perfectly here,
saying.
but the message is here is like, listen, dude, you're 5'8", you're never going to be a basketball player.
Damn it.
Like, you know what I mean? You're never going to be a basketball player. It's never going to happen. You just don't have what it takes. But you can work for the organization and be, you know, a championship winning coach.
Cowboy.
And you can do these things. You can still
Bring the
contribute.
towels out.
And I
What
think
if I
that's,
got like a sweet ass J? Like, what if I got a wet J?
Tim, can you tell me what a wet J is, please? Because
Nick, it's
Well,
nasty and
from
it's
downtown.
damp.
What if my J is wetty? What if I got a wetty J?
Kevin, now he's putting a Y on it, and I'm not sure if that makes it grosser. And I think
It does. It
So-
does.
Okay.
7 syllables in the middle. You need 5 for the first and last line. If you're not poetic, no need to fret it. Haikus don't need to rhyme. Haiku in review. Haiku in review. I'm fucking good at basketball.
You can go to patreon.com/kindafunny to write your review in haiku form, just like no one did, because no one really knew that this episode was coming. But it's
Whoops.
here. And hey, guess what? E3 season's very difficult for scheduling, and we really appreciate your
Hold on.
patience. So
The monsters are cool. I thought the movie was better
cool.
Great.
than
No.
expected.
Just say
Yes.
great. Just say
Did it.
great.
I fucking did it. I fucking did it.
Let's do Ragu Bagu.
Ragu. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the world's longest Rad Guys Talk Bad Guys here for Pixar in Review. Number one on the list
Not
is
true at
Lotsa.
all. We have a
Not
very
even
long
close.
list.
Yeah, much
And this
longer
one's
for
good. I guess we
MCU.
have the
We have
MCU
one with
/
40.
Star Wars for some stupid reason.
/ Daredevil.
Greg doesn't understand that Paul Bettany can be in multiple movies. Let's see. Number one is Lotsa. Number two, Prospecta. Number three, Noosewater and Randall. Number four, Hopper from Ants. Number five, Syndrome from Incredibles. Number six, Months and the Dogs from Up. Number seven, Ego and Skinner. Number eight, Darla and the Barracuda from Finding Nemo. Number nine, Woody. Number 10, Gabby. Number 11, Otto from Wall-E. Number 12, Mordu and the Witch from Brave. Number 13, Chick and Hubris from Cars. And rounding out the list, Axelrod and Lemons from Cars 2. Man, where do we
I would
want to
go-
put?
I would like to propose
Over Otto and Wall-E.
I would like to propose under Syndrome. I don't know how that reflects to Otto.
Can you give me what's above Hopper and what's below Hopper?
So above Hopper is Noosewater and Randall from Monsters Inc., which does seem like and then below Hopper is Syndrome from Incredibles.
Okay.
Yeah, see, but
We're
I say
for
below.
context,
with
we're
Andy.
going to be ranking Dean, Hard Scrabble, and the Roars because they're assholes too.
Sure.
I'd go above Otto, under Gabby from Toy Story 4. Just because I liked her a lot in this, but I think that there were moments with her that just didn't really work for me. And in terms of being a bad guy, I liked her presence. I liked that she wasn't pure evil, but I feel like they could have done more interesting things than they did with her.
I agree. I would put her a little lower. So who thinks, show
I
of
feel
hands, who
like she
thinks
won. Just one more thing. I'd like to say
she did win?
that she won. She got what she wanted. Kick these two losers out for spilling her special Scream juice.
And again, she died before she could figure out that they become superstars on
We don't
magazines.
know that.
So
We don't know
Is that
that.
canon?
dead in 3
No, I
years,
don't
got hit
think
by a
so.
bigger
I don't
monster.
think
I do like that, like Hopper, she just commits to being a bad guy and there's like no real turn. And I do appreciate that because I feel like we don't really get that.
Yeah,
Very often
actually,
in
you
these
know
movies.
what?
I feel
I'd
there's
like
really
to.
like a twisty twist.
I'd like to make a correction and put her above Syndrome because Syndrome failed.
All right,
But
who
We're
thinks-
not
also-
ranking their success rate. We're just ranking like how
Yeah, I know, but that
intriguing
should
are
be
they as an
that should be a factor in how good at being bad they were. Andy, remember where Wally is, all right?
I
And
put
it's because
this
we
below
didn't speak
Gabby.
up.
All right,
I
who
put it
thinks-
below Gabby.
Who thinks that Hard Scrabble is better than a better villain than Otto from Wall-E? Raise your hand. Who thinks she's a better villain than Gabby from Toy Story 4? And there you have it. There you go. Smack dab in the middle.
about
That's
that.
your list.
It's not the
Gabby
end.
wasn't- yeah.
Very close to the end. Yeah.
I mean,
who we putting
yeah.
down here? What's her name?
Hard Scrabble and the Roars.
Are you taking notes
Nathan
too?
Fillion
Tim?
was great. Nathan Fillion was great, man.
He was.
Yeah,
was
how
he?
come you didn't rank him higher because of how great he
I
was?
forgot
the
we were
roles.
doing him. I was just so focused on the lady.
I said it at the beginning, and you guys screwed up.
We run
it
just
back,
like,
like,
just
30
like Hollywood
seconds.
has been doing to
Doesn't
Nathan
affect
Fillion
my
for
vote.
years. You have screwed
Yeah.
over his career.
Andy, can we sway your vote with that now?
We'll have to do a new ranking, Kevin. New show.
Next show.
Now
Of
it's
course, once we're done
time
with this show, it's never changing.
to rank the Pixar movies. Currently, number 1, Up. Number 2, Monsters, Inc. Number 3, Finding Nemo. Number 4, The Incredibles. Number 5, Wall-E. Number 6, Toy Story 3. Number 7, Toy Story 2. Number 8, Toy Story 4. Number 9, Toy Story. Number 10, Ratatouille. Number 11, Cars. Number 12, A Bug's Life. Number 13, Brave. And number 14, Cars 2. Who wants to start off? Kevin Coelho.
I would put this at number 12. I think it's a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's fun. I don't know if great's the right
Perfect
word,
spot.
and that's the reason why it takes that spot
Good
in my
movie.
mind.
Super
It
good.
was good.
Super
It
good.
was fun. I'd rewatch it, but it's not like it made me feel like, aside from the Mike scene, and like again, I don't feel like that was warranted because it's bullshit. The little kid would be scared, but yeah, I had a good time with it. That's where I'd put it.
Andy, you had your hand raised.
This goes, I'm so sorry, Chris Anka, who may or may not have dropped off of this series because he's just lost hope in us. I would put this above Ratatouille, below Toy Story at number 10. I love the cast. They made me laugh a lot. Whenever I rank stuff, it's always like, how enjoyable was it? Usually, as opposed to how complete of a film was it? while I think Ratatouille may be a better, product in total, I think I just had a lot more enjoyment out of this, and a lot of that goes to me just not caring much about Remy, and I don't know, I just didn't really love Ratatouille, but the final sequence also just kind of made it really good. Like I think it definitely, that's the last thing I remember about it, and it was, I don't know, just wasn't expecting it, so I would put it at number 10.
Right there with you, Andy. And I think that I can have an argument for anywhere from above A Bug's Life to above Ratatouille, but I'm gonna stand with above Ratatouille because I think what this movie sets out to do, it really succeeds at, and that was an uphill battle, and I'm shocked at how much I enjoyed this movie from beginning to end, and it tried to be funny and it succeeded.
But I think message
This is so
matters,
interesting.
you know?
Yeah, it
I
is
feel-
interesting because I'm so go ahead, Joe.
Oh, I was just saying, I feel like I'm usually on the higher end of ranking things, and it's rare that I rank things lower than you guys, except for Wally. Sorry.
Jesus.
But I am with Kevin, where I would put it at 12. I think that's where Kevin put it, right?
That's right,
Did I say
Joey.
12?
That's where I put it.
Above A Bug's
Because
Life.
I think that A Bug's Life, story wise and like everything encompassing, is probably a better movie, but I like Monsters University more. It has like some like more lighthearted rewatch factor. Like I watched this movie last night, and then I think I fell asleep towards the end, so I restarted it in between Gamescast and this, and I was like still laughing at stuff that I had laughed at last night. And I feel like that's kind of a rare thing for me. So even though I think A Bug's Life is a better movie, I would put this at 10, but I don't think that it's better than Cars or Ratatouille.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I'm in.
Sorry, I just wanted to add one more thing about like the message. Like I like that Ratatouille story is like anybody can cook. You know, also Cars is like message of like, hey, don't be a dick just because you're on top is cool. I just want to put that out there.
But
That's
here's the clarification.
that's-
It wasn't actually the theme of Ratatouille. It was anyone can cook. It was that a good cook can come from anywhere, which ended up being that theme. And it's interesting that we're going back and forth on these
Same
specific two
thing, but-
movies because the themes are
Opposites.
diametrically opposed, right?
Yeah.
It's so interesting. So Remy is a really, really talented chef that would never be accepted because of who he is and where he comes from, whereas Mike is talentless, unfortunately, and has to fit and needs to realize he needs to pick a different path in life to be truly successful and happy. And I think those are two really interesting. And God bless Pixar for kind of looking through both those themes. I'm just going to give Ratatouille a nudge above this, only because I think stylistically, and it was a bold choice to make a rat a cook, and they made it work. Whereas Monster U really does build off of a lot of the tropes and a lot of the stuff that Monsters Inc. did. And I think you have to take a point away because of that. And also just wasn't as clever and as sort of like, it didn't gel as much as Monsters Inc. does, which is currently sitting at number 2 on our list for, I think, a very, very good reason. So I'd put this right above Cars.
Can I just say that I'm shocked Kevin feels that way. I feel like Kevin is usually the realist of like,
He's so
look, you're not
draconian,
good at
I know.
something, don't do
He's
it.
like, get the fuck out. You can't do that thing. Get out.
I'm really surprised that Kevin feels that way about the theme of the movie.
I mean, I just think that it's a not a great message to tell kids, and I think most of these movies are for kids. It's just sad to see this man give up on his dreams and
Well, he didn't,
use
though.
his
He still got
strengths.
to be.
I have
a
such
part
a
of it.
different take than you do, Kev. Yeah, I'm way more with Nick on this. Where it's like, I don't think he gave up on it.
He just figured out how to do it a different way. Yeah.
But
I agree with Kevin that it's kind of like a harsh message for a kid's movie for
It's
all.
reality, right? And that's what I mean. That's more of an adult message. But like, yeah, if you don't, if
Right.
you really don't have what it takes to be super successful in the field, well, you can still do it, but it's not going to be very good for you in life. Or you can work around the system, find a different way in, and you can get that same level of success, but it might not look like what you thought it was going to look like. And don't forget that he ends up being on the cover of magazines, albeit right behind the scan card or whatever it is. But I just think it's cool. I just don't think they necessarily nailed the delivery of that message, which I think is what we're all responding to a little bit.
yeah. So time to rank them. Who thinks it is better than Brave? Raise your hand. Everybody. Who thinks it's better than A Bug's Life? Raise your hand. Kev. Oh wait,
No,
everybody.
sorry.
I threw Kevin
I
off.
got
I
me-
lowered
I
my hand
got-
and raised it.
Who thinks it's
Kevin,
better
I've been
than
on camera all day.
Cars 1? Raise your hand. Joey and Kev put their hands down. Who thinks it's better than Rat-Tat-Tooie? Nick puts his hands down, which means It now lies at number 11 between Ratatouille and Cars. I'm not going to read it again. You guys know what is up. But later this week, we're returning with Ninja Turtles 3. Some people call it
Turtles in Time.
Then we're returning next week with TMNT, the 2007 CG movie, and Luca, the brand new Pixar movie on Disney
Oh,
Plus.
excited about that.
Yeah,
fun.
very, very, very cool shit. But until then, love you guys. Goodbye.